Good afternoon and welcome everyone to the Leading Edge webinar series from CCMA. We are really grateful that you took some time out of your busy schedule to be with us, and we have an incredible webinar for you this month. This month, we're pleased to discuss the merits of virtual bookkeeping with two guests from Belay Solutions. And before I introduce them, just a couple of announcements. First, please use the chat feature as often as you'd like to ask a question to the group or to another member of the webinar. And we will certainly have dedicated time at the end for questions and answers, but feel free during the webinar if you have particular questions. Number two, this webinar, as are all CCMA webinars, will be posted to the CCMA YouTube channel, typically within 24 hours, so that you can share it with your colleagues tomorrow, the day after, and the day after that if you have a little extra time. With that said, let me just share for a moment why we've invited Melissa and Teresa to this month's webinar. We know from the National Study on Catholic Campus Ministry, facilitated by the USCCB and to be published in print form very soon, that two areas jump off the page. Number one, many campus ministry teams are small. And number two, many campus ministers self-report that they don't have as much confidence as they would like in administrative areas such as budgeting and bookkeeping. As a result, I wanted to bring a potential resource to you via Melissa and Teresa and the company they work for, Belay Solutions. CCMA has used Belay and their bookkeeper that they matched with us, whose name is Kim, who has worked with us for the past few months. With that said, now it's my pleasure to introduce our presenters. Teresa Summerlin has served in multiple roles with Belay over the last 4.5 years. She currently supports all Belay partnerships. Teresa is an entrepreneur at heart, having owned and operated her own business for over 25 years. She attends Woodstock City Church, where she serves as a small group leader and a care minister. And she says the best things in life are her family, her church, cycling, tennis, reading, and pistachio-flavored ice cream, which I concur is very, very tasty.
Oh, good.
Alongside her is Melissa Tidwell, who's a solutions consultant for Belay. Melissa has 15 years experience serving on church staff in financial, administrative, and children's ministry roles. She's been part of the Belay team since 2011. Melissa has served as a member of their bookkeeping team, providing services to a variety of churches, and in 2014 moved to their solutions team. Melissa enjoys paddleboarding. That sounds ambitious. Camping, hiking, eating Mexican food with her husband of 30 years. So Teresa and Melissa, welcome to the webinar, and thank you so much for being our guests.
Thank you so much for having us. It's our pleasure to be here and hope we provide some valuable content for you all.
Okay, so Teresa, we're going to hand it off to you, and you have a brief presentation for us regarding virtual bookkeeping.
We do. And we are going to get started here.
Right.
Okay, so why is bookkeeping a challenge? Or I guess we should say, is bookkeeping a challenge? We find that many, many times, and just to reinforce what you said earlier there, Mike, is that the answer is a resounding yes, that bookkeeping is a challenge for you in your ministry. And we find this, but really, who are we? Just to go into a little bit of detail, Belay is a virtual staffing solutions organization. We provide remote support in the areas of virtual assistance, bookkeeping, content writing, and webmaster services. Our mission is to glorify God by providing solutions that equip our clients with the confidence to climb higher. That's the name Belay. If anybody doesn't know what a Belay is, it's that individual that supports the climber on the side of a mountain. So we kind of incorporate that into our name. So this is our mission statement. And we feel that we are the outsourced solution to your bookkeeping needs. Belay started about 7 years ago, but to give you a little bit of background, we operated as 5 different organizations prior to January of 2017. MAG Bookkeeping was our organization that focused solely on the needs, the bookkeeping needs of churches and nonprofits. So for about 6 years, that is what we did through the arm of MAG Bookkeeping. And in 2017, we consolidated all of our organizations and rebranded as Belay. Of course, we're still serving the churches and nonprofit sectors with our bookkeeping needs. So the question is, why outsource? So there's a couple of, there's a lot of reasons why, but I'm going to go into sort of the top 5. Third-party accountability. So really, when we hold each other accountable to the commitments that we cannot fail on, that's what accountability or third-party accountability is, and that's what we offer to our clients. Privacy is another consideration for outsourcing. So financials, sensitive information, and taking the local individual out of an organization or out of the equation when you're dealing with financials sometimes can be a benefit. So when you're working with a virtual bookkeeper, obviously she can be somewhere in any state, but not right there in the community. Comprehensive and up-to-date know-how. The bookkeepers that we have are known for their expertise in bookkeeping. Their core competency is bookkeeping. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we're up to date on all of the information around bookkeeping and to keep the clients up to date as well and compliant. Scalability. So as your organization or your ministry grows, having an outsourced bookkeeper or utilizing a service like Belay allows you to scale. So as your growth occurs, then the support that you need can grow with that bookkeeper as well. So that eliminates the need to have to bring in additional staff and train up. And then lastly, timely and accurate information. So the IRS, accountants, banks, they all love it when a client is using an outsourced solution, a professional bookkeeper. The information in the books are audit ready. The information that we provide is timely and it's accurate, which is really our goal in serving our clients, is to provide that timely and accurate information. And I would ask, at this point, are there other reasons, like Melissa, did I miss anything here? Are there other reasons that you can think of?
I think you hit the great highlights right now.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then, Mike, if you feel that there's anything that I missed, please speak up.
Yeah, can I just add one thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that accountability piece is really critical. I once worked with a priest who's just a holy, wonderful man, and it wasn't that he was bad with finances. He just didn't have the confidence that he wanted to. As a result, deferred to his bookkeeper for everything. So if he wanted to do basic things like write checks, make a deposit, he literally didn't know how to do any of that, and he relied on a bookkeeper who was a wonderful person, but as can happen sometimes, there just wasn't another layer of accountability, and so some bad things happen. So I love that you're mentioning accountability, because typically for campus ministries, they have some staff, they have a board. It's really nice to have a third leg of that stool, and I think that that's one of the things that you're talking to is just that accountability is so important from a financial standpoint. So just wanted to add that.
Right, excellent. And I mean, it's the third set of eyes going over everything and just ensuring that things are being done correctly, and identifying areas of improvement as well. So I think that's huge for our clients that just experiencing that and having that accountability partner, because that's what we're doing, is partnering with you. But most importantly, outsourcing frees you up to focus on your ministry instead of focusing on your finances. And then I have just a quick video. It's a testimonial video that we just got recently. And before we continue, let's just kind of listen to what Matt Lacey has. And it's a little slow loading, so bear with us.
Hey everyone, my name is Matt Lacey, and my wife Jackie and I pastor Fountain Church in the San Francisco Bay Area here in Pleasanton, California. And just wanted to take a moment to say thank you so much to Belay for really changing the game in regards to our bookkeeping and bill paying solutions, not to mention having an impact on our leadership and the culture of our church. So I wanted to take a moment and just give you a snapshot of our story. That might sound a little bit like a fairy tale, but I promise you that it's true. You see, up until December of last year, even though we had a bookkeeper, I was still heavily involved with our bookkeeping processes as the lead pastor. Now, just to let you know, I'm not good at it. I'm not called to do it. I'm not gifted in those areas. So it was a huge weight on my shoulders and always extremely draining. Well, one Tuesday morning, I was listening to the Carey Newhoff Leadership Podcast. Big shout out to Carey. And he was talking about Belay solutions. So long story short, we ended up investigating and decided to pull the trigger and partner with Belay. And can I just tell you that that has been the best decision that we've made as a church and as a team in regards to our bookkeeping and bill paying. And can I just tell you, we're not stopping there. Like, we want the virtual assistant. We want everything that Belay has to offer because our experience has been so incredible. Now, I think it's so important that you understand that I'm not getting paid for this. I promise. I'm just a raving fan that's so excited to share what we've experienced with Belay. So let's get right to it. I want to share some of the benefits that have really changed the game for us. And the first one is this, is I got my Mondays back. Now, unfortunately, as a lead pastor, my Mondays were full of receipts, reports, and spreadsheets. Everything I'm not good at and everything I'm not called to. But now I have an extra day during the week that has created a lot more margin in my work week, not just for ministry, but also for my family. On top of that, our church is growing, and with a growing church comes a lot more complexities, and you start hiring staff, and there's a lot of different components payroll-wise. And I'm happy to say that we are fully compliant now after partnering with Belay. Now,
So I think that gives you an idea of what some of our clients are saying about us. And I'm going to have to back up here. So I don't know what happened. Nope, sorry. Okay, so just from there, just to dive a little bit deeper. So sorry. On what we can do for you. So what all we encompass when we are doing the bookkeeping services for a ministry is payroll, accounts payable, bank reconciliation, credit card reconciliation, financial reporting, chart of accounts review and budgeting, and best practice coaching. So payroll is an option. We can either do payroll or we don't have to. Accounts payable is a huge time saver for most of our clients, along with the bank reconciliation. Financial reporting is also a huge benefit. The standard reports that we typically provide are the balance sheet, the budget to actual, and the standard profit to loss statement. The sample of the reports here, and I don't know, it's kind of small, but this is just a sample of the reporting that we do offer. And Melissa, if you want to add anything here. She's probably unmuting.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I mean, as far as the key report being that budget to actual report, just because it really helps to show what you are doing as to what you had hoped to do. And that's something that the bookkeeper can definitely help speak to and help revamp or map out differently if it needed to, from the standpoint of making sure that it is helping to track along with your budget goals or your vision goals for whatever time period.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about tracking with the client. When we first start working together, we do have a reporting cadence. We work towards really filling the need for the client, and that cadence can be customized as well. In addition to the reports that I mentioned, I mean, we also can run custom reports. Reports can be run on an ad hoc basis, in addition to the normal cadence that we provide the reporting. So those are the things that Belay actually takes care of and takes off your plate. But what is your responsibility as a client? So donor management still stays with you as the client. The client is responsible for approving payroll. You simply upload your bills. The bookkeeper takes care of setting everything up for payment. You approve the bills to be paid, and you provide a primary point of contact. And that's the responsibility that stays with you as the client. So how does this all work? First of all, we go through a very thorough discovery process. This entails you providing all of the information, all the financials from to date, so that we have a picture of where you're at currently. And then what we'll do is jump on a discovery call to review all of the information, assess where we're at, and assess where we're going. Then we get busy finding that dedicated bookkeeper based on the discovery findings that's going to work with you. Once we've identified the bookkeeper, then we kick off the engagement. So we start to further define the systems and the processes that are going to work for you and the ministry in conjunction with the bookkeeper standing by your side. And then, of course, she begins working and submitting weekly financials to you. We continually assess the engagement to ensure satisfaction with the relationship manager in place. That is her job, to oversee the engagement, just to ensure that benchmarks are being met and that we're performing as we all should, so that we're meeting the level of satisfaction and expectation that we set for the engagement. How do we integrate our virtual bookkeeper? And this is a question that we get a lot, just around the fact that she's remote, or she or he, I should say, is remote. One of the things that we recommend is that you engage your staff early on in the process. She is actually a team member, so cast your vision for your staff and include the virtual bookkeeper in staff meetings. Keep it real. She's a team member. She is an expert in bookkeeping. So as a client, you want to lean into her. You want to be able to, you'll be able to contact your bookkeeper via email, via text, phone call, and you'll have regularly scheduled meetings. Just you'll work to integrate her into the team. The bookkeeper, her core competency is bookkeeping, and it's likely not yours. You didn't enter ministry to worry about bookkeeping and financial reporting, but you are responsible for it. And that's where we come in as that third-party accountability partner. So at this point, we can open it up to question and answers. I feel like I went through it very quickly, so we can certainly go back and revisit any of the portions of the presentation.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Teresa. And for anybody who has a question, please just let me know. I'll unmute you if you have a question, and you can also put something into the chat. That's perfectly fine as well. Teresa, here's a question that I have. So you mentioned that people don't go into ministry to be experts in finance, but they are responsible for that. What have you seen in terms of how does the confidence grow or increase when ministry leaders have a service like this that they can rely on?
For the minister or the nonprofit that's utilizing bookkeeping and their ability to focus on growing the ministry and not have to worry about the financials is huge. The feedback that we get from our clients is just the information that they're provided, and also the interpretation of that information is very beneficial in allowing the leader to make decisions that are appropriate for where a ministry is, and at the same time they can continue to focus on their vision and the growth of the ministry.
That's great. Here's a question from the Newman Center at Angelo State University. What's the cost? What's the monthly cost? What's the startup cost? Give us some sense of that.
Yeah, and I'm going to let Melissa actually take this question because there are several factors that go into pricing, and I think she can explain it really well for us.
Great, thank you, Teresa. So really what we do is we would need to schedule a call because it is a customized pricing. And the best features of it is it does give the church or the ministry a set monthly fee. So you have a good concrete budgeted cost each month. The factors that go into it are a lot of the complexity of your ministry, the number of people who are on your payroll or how you're handling payroll, as well as just overall if you have other side adventures, if you will, that you're working on as part of your ministry and how those are all being accounted for. The calls typically take about 25 minutes. You don't have to have a tremendous knowledge about how you're doing things now, because for the key areas, you'll know your vision and know what you're wanting to do at the ministry. So we can get the call scheduled, go over the information, also then at that point in time, be able to present the pricing. And then knowing that your pricing is always set for that ministry year for you, it gives you that consistent budget amount. So I wish we could give a one size fits all type answer on that, but we really like our customized solution because we feel like it really helps the churches and the ministries get what they need.
And we do have a startup fee, like most services of this sort. And it does depend on the condition that we're in currently. And that's why we go through that very intense assessment. Now, I would mention here too that we are offering $300 as a discount for the participants on this webinar off of those startup fees. And I believe I have a slide that shows that as well.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I can say from a CCMA standpoint, it's very reasonable. And while, it's always about with staffing, what am I getting and what am I giving up? And I think that when you don't have someone in your office who's doing something like bookkeeping, you're not seeing their face, their person every day. You're not, having a cup of coffee with that person. But you're saving a lot of money because you're not paying for a computer for that person, and you're not paying for additional heating and water and utilities for that person because that person works from home. So from my perspective, you get a lot more than you give up, and it's been very reasonable. So that's very nice. So Teresa, so there is a discount, $300 off the startup fees. That's very nice.
Our pleasure.
Here's another question. Would my ministry need to hire and pay the virtual bookkeeper? How does that work? That one's pretty easy, I think.
Right. So the ministry doesn't actually do the hiring. So the beauty of this is that we do the vetting and we do the hiring for you. We have the monthly fee is paid to Belay, and then of course we take care of the bookkeeper, all of the year-end paperwork, 1099s that are issued, and all of that sort of thing. So it's truly a one-stop shop, if you will, and that Belay does the vetting, the hiring, and it is a contract with Belay. And it is month to month.
Right. And I think the other, thing is that because it's month to month, if it's not working, there's two possibilities. One possibility is you can request a change or a modification. The other possibility is just to go in a different direction. I think, when we found our bookkeeper, could we have found someone on our own? We could have, but since we're not experts in bookkeeping, we would have to rely on some volunteer expertise to help us vet that person. So I think that we liked, Melissa and Teresa, that you all were able to look at a number of candidates and then say, our recommendation is this person and here's why. So I found that to be helpful.
Absolutely.
And Mike, I would also add, when you talk about that finding of the right bookkeeper, we have an entire team dedicated to the onboarding and finding of those bookkeepers, and that includes a whole series of testing. So they might have great skills on paper, but we also have them actually demonstrate those skills to us through a variety of testing that we've created. So their knowledge of financial platforms, general accounting principles, as well as just the nuances of nonprofit and church accounting. So they do have an opportunity to not only talk about their skills with our recruit our recruitment team, but also the factor of actually demonstrating that through testing. So by the time they are serving your ministry, you can be assured that they are well established and have that proven history and track record of knowing what they can do.
Great. Any other questions? Anybody else have a follow-up, a detailed question, or a big picture question? Here's something that just came in. What's a major challenge that could be experienced in this practice? That's really good. In other words, when has this not worked with some of your ministry clients? And not looking for details, but what were kind of the conditions that didn't allow it to work as well as it could have?
That's a great question. I'm gonna let Melissa field that one.
Yes, thank you. That's one of my favorite questions. So thank you for asking. I will say that a couple of the key things, foremost is the ability to learn to work with the technology. There is a certain technology feature as far as how different processes happen. So you have to be willing to embrace. We fully walk through all of the pieces. We don't feel it's over challenging, but you do need to have that willingness to learn. The second part of it is the partnering with your bookkeeper. They are not mind readers, so they really do need to have the opportunity to have conversations and ask questions because they want to make sure that they're telling your financial story well. So they do need to have that opportunity to connect with a member of the leadership or whoever you're appointing so they can get their questions answered, and making sure that they have the information that they need to give you good financial reports. And then the last really big obstacle is when we encounter those who might not be as willing to listen to some of the best practices that we might come forward. We always want to have it in a conversation format, but there are certain things that we know based upon experience could be potentially jeopardizing to your ministry. And so we have to have that ability and willingness to come to the table and have the conversations and be able to work towards the best solutions. Those are really the key obstacles that we've run across in our 7-year history. As far as getting it onboarded, walking through, we have checklists. Your relationship manager serves as a tour guide, making sure every detail is handled. So it's a very guided process and very easy to transition as long as we have that willingness to walk through that change and transition. Belay has always prided itself that we never want to create division or strife in the ministries. We're only there to help serve and ease that tension.
Great. Melissa, Teresa, any concluding thoughts, and how might people follow up with you?
First of all, thank you again for having us. It's a pleasure to hear your satisfaction, with Belay, and we're honored to have you as a client. Just honored to be here. You can visit belaysolutions.com, but better yet, you can reach out to Melissa directly, and she'd love to hear from you. Her address is on the screen, melissa.tidwell@belaysolutions.com. And just mention the webinar. Make sure you get the $300 discount on the startup fees.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth noting that we don't like putting resources in front of our audience unless we've used them first. And so, we wanted to make sure we had several months under our belt with Belay before introducing them to campus ministries. So, like the coach who makes his players run and he runs with them, we're trying to run with campus ministries as well. And, we hope that this is a potential resource that people will consider. So, Teresa and Melissa, thank you so much. We're so grateful. And with that concludes this month's webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. You have a great day. Again, for people who are listening in and people who are watching the replay, we're so grateful that you took some time out of your very busy schedules. It's the end of the academic year for most semester-based campuses. And you can always get this resource and others related to it at ccmanet.org and on our YouTube channel. Thanks so much. God bless you. And let's be praying for one another.